Welcome to Sam Outside. I'm Sam and I'm outside finding the trees amongst the forest. So this time of year, being, well, mid to late October, most of the leaves have fallen off the treetops here on top of this hardwood stand, this hardwood ridge. Now, as I walk through the forest, there are a significant number of trees that are holding their leaves. So in a predominantly maple forest, most of the maples have lost their leaves, but as I look around, there are a couple sentinels like that one behind me that still have their leaves, which draws my attention. Well, what kind of tree is that? And that is a basswood. So the leaves are still green relative to the mostly orange and brown forest behind me. So that's a great indicator. Had I been looking through the forest, I might not have been able to distinguish the bark, color, texture, even its growth habit. But now that I see those leaves draws my attention, well, yeah, that's different. And then I really start to notice, how is the bark different? So that's one way of learning, one way of teaching myself how I have different species of trees in my forest. So again, as I look up, right, there's a treetop there that still has its leaves. And then as I follow it down, I notice, yeah, they're still green. And there are these great big spade shaped green leaves. That's the basswood. And then as I follow the trunk down fairly straight, and then I notice here at the base of that basswood, most basswoods tend to have a buttress at the base. And often there'll be smaller stems. They're often multi-stemmed. So just learning about that aspect now, when I can truly identify them differently, in the peak of summer, I might not be able to notice, differentiate the leaf color, the leaf shape amongst the collection of beech and black cherry and birch and other things like that relative to its color, size, and shape. But at this time of year, yeah, they stand out. Now on this walk, the reason I was looking up primarily is because I do want to notice, and I want to try and identify and find my red oak. They are few and far between. Unfortunately, I'm on the wrong section. I know when I go the other direction toward the top of Heart Lake, I know where those oaks are. So today I'm exploring the bottom end of Heart Lake, and I'm hoping to find some oak. Traditionally, the oak keep their leaves a little longer. They'll be a different red, a deeper, richer red than some of the maples. And yeah, they'll hold on a little longer. Now, most of the leaves here in this forest that are still on, some of the leaves might still be on because they're not subject to the prevailing winds, so they won't be as readily swept away. But also a lot of the shorter trees, the saplings as you were, they are beech. So the younger beech, much like oaks, will hold on to their leaves throughout the entire winter. The difference is that eventually the oaks will drop their leaves, but not all of them. That's not entirely true. The red oaks, they will turn brown. They're so thick they will keep their consistency. Unlike these birch, the young birch that do hold on to the leaves, like this little specimen behind me, they get paper thin and they'll almost become transparent. All right, not transparent per se, but all right, they'll become translucent. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. So that is one of the primary differences outside of their deep color and their shape, of course. But as I'm scanning from a distance, there is the ability to differentiate which leaves are still in trees. So I'm starting to recognize the individuals, the tree species amongst the forest. There is quite a diversity, and depending on where I am in the forest, if I'm on an eastern slope or the western slope, there are some differences, right? So right away, there's a contrast in that green of that tree right there, right? So that tree was that shade of green a month ago, and it has been reluctant to change. It's still getting its stores of energy. That's a beech, right? So the beech tend to hold their color, their shape, a little longer than most other species. So as I continue my walk through the forest, I'm starting to notice, right? I can cancel the maples off. Yes, there are some maples that still have their leaves, but it might be, again, because they're below the winds, all right? And the ones that are holding, they're definitely a different color, right? You still see some vibrant reds here and there, right? So again, there's a, a great example coming up, right? There's a nice maple there that's still red, but again, it's so short, it's well protected, right, amongst the coniferous trees on this side of the lake where it's not subject to prevailing winds. So capitalizing on this time of year for a little bit of learning, and I do that through effort, through noticing. A little bit of that has to do with my experience as an outdoor educator, as an arborist, right? Understanding and learning the difference not only in identifying trees based on their leaf, but also their bark, their growth habit, their structure. And when I get right down to it, noticing bud formation once we're in deep winter, whether they're alternating, whether they are parallel, right? But there's a lot to be said at this time of year, looking at which trees still have their leaves. Begs the question, why, how, right? Some of that just has to do with their location, but more often than not, it's due to their species. So another thing I like to do is actually take a look at the leaf litter on the ground. Here, right? Yeah, there's a couple inches worth of leaf litter on the ground, and predominantly maple. A lot of it is beech, a lot of it is birch. And then when I start to see an oak leaf on the ground, it might not be that the oak is, directly above me. Winds can take those things around, and I'll then begin to look a little bit more intentionally. But the act of going through nature, it's not just keep my eye on the trail. Part of the training of navigating the forest with my eyes up, years of experience as an arborist, right? Just walking around the property, just constantly eyes up, eyes up. Even when I'm driving, looking at power lines, looking for clearance, looking for damage, right? So that's just part of the training that has accumulated over the years, learning to identify and appreciate the diversity that is the mixed forest here in this part of the world. So the next time you're outside, just take a moment, notice what's left, what's gone, why is that, what is that, all right? Begin to teach yourself simple skills of identification. Right? Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Go outside, notice the difference, notice the change. I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.